Hello everybody, Glenn Kirby here, Technical Manager for Syngenta UK and Ireland in Ornamentals Control. And I'm going to spend a bit of time talking to you about biostimulants. There are some changes on the horizon and I'd like to take a look at what's going on, what's happened historically, and try and make it as simple as possible because it is a confusing picture. So what are we going to go through today? We're going to have a look at what regulations there are. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the different types of biostimulants that are available. How do the upcoming regulations cover biostimulants? What do biostimulants do? Will we see more biostimulants in the future? And what's Syngenta's role in this market? What are we bringing to the table? So the regulations. Well, it's been a bit of a grey area, if I'm honest. We've got the fertiliser regulations, 1991, which covers crop nutrition, fertilisers, soil improvers, substrates, anything that provides the soil and the crops with nutrition or nutrients. And then we got the crop protection regulations. Plant protection products regulations 2011 governs all of the fungicides, herbicides, insecticides, nematicides and biocontrols. Interestingly, when we're talking about biologicals, there's a clear distinction here in what is being claimed. So if you have a biological type product that is claiming that is going to protect the crop from biotic stress, pests, weeds or a disease, then it is a biocontrol and currently falls under the plant protection regulations. There's this grey area in the middle and the upcoming EU fertiliser regulations that are going to be with us in 2022 intended to cover this. So we create this crop enhancement section that falls under the fertiliser regs. And that covers acids, microbials, extracts and others. So anything that's there to enhance crop performance or resilience. Now this is the grey area in the middle that traditionally has been marketed, advertised with various claims about what things do, and it hasn't fallen under any particular set of regulations in the UK, but that is going to change. There is change on the horizon. So we've got here a little map of what goes on there. So we've got crop protection over on one side and we've got crop nutrition over on the other. And in the middle there we've got all of these new biostimulants, or not necessarily new. Some of these things have been floating around for a while, but they're fairly unregulated. So we've got all sorts in here. So we've got things like humus, something that a lot of us would have heard about, probably used. People have tried to sell it, and there isn't a clear-cut description about what these things do or what they are supposed to do. Beneficial elements, that falls under there as well. It's not strictly crop nutrition. It falls into this biostimulants. Mycorrhizae, trichoderma, other beneficial fungi. There is a whole range of these kind of products that are being sold and marketed. And it is a confusing picture. Seaweeds, kelps, they're going to fall in there as well. Phosphites. Phosphites are really interesting because it is a fertiliser, but it doesn't produce additional growth. It has different benefits, so it's not going to fall under crop nutrition. It will fall in the fertiliser regs further towards biostimulants, depending on what the claim is. Amino acids, they're something that a lot of people use. Fulvic acids, very different products, but traditionally and sometimes have been marketed with very similar properties. And once you start digging into this a little bit deeper, they are very different. Cytokinins, chitin and chitosan, that seems to be getting a bit of action at the moment. I'm seeing a bit of that going around and advertised with various claims about it. And that's not the end of it. There's hundreds of these types of products all over the place, all with different claims, different abilities, different things that they can do. And it is a confusing and grey picture. So if we go to what are these biostimulants, what are these things I'm talking about? Well, according to the upcoming EU fertiliser regs, they are a material which contains a substance and or microorganism whose function, when applied to the plant or the rhizosphere, is to simulate natural processes to benefit nutrient uptake, nutrient efficiency, tolerance to abiotic stress and or crop quality, independent of its nutrient content. That is a mouthful. Basically, in summary, it's everything that's not designed to protect plants from pathogens or pests and not for providing nutrition. Really simple. If it's not one of those, it's a biostimulant. One of the other things in these new regulations is that all claims will need to be supported. Forthcoming regs will require label claims to be supported. We can't just walk in and say, here is an amino acid, it does X, go for it. If we're going to claim that on the label, there will need to be data to support that. This will create an onus for the manufacturers to demonstrate to regulators and customers that the product claims are justified. We now have to prove as manufacturers, if we want to sell a product with a claim, that it is a justified claim. The requirements for the claims justification should be proportional to the task. So this is interesting. We don't know exactly how this is going to pan out yet, but the amount of data we have to provide is going to be proportionate to the claim. So that's not totally clear yet what that means, and we'll watch that space with interest. But as a manufacturer, we know we will have to provide enough data for it to be credible. This is a really important sea change in the market in this area. It means in the future, when you're getting these biostimulant type products, there needs to be enough claims, there needs to be enough data to support the claims to ensure the claims are credible. But the wording in there also says without the process becoming needlessly burdensome. So it'd be interesting to see what that pans out, but as a manufacturer, we are fully committed to providing the information. Now, the other thing within the EU fertiliser regs, they have tried to simplify what biostimulants do into these functional use definitions. So the only things that you can claim on these biostimulants to fall within these new EU fertiliser regs are nutrient use efficiency, availability of confined nutrients in the soil or rhizosphere, crop quality traits, or tolerance to abiotic stresses. But what does that look like in real life? What does that mean to you? What is going to be written on the label? So if you're looking at availability of confined nutrients in the soil or rhizosphere, that's going to be something like a biological fixation of nitrogen or solubilization of phosphorus. It's going to be a way of freeing up nutrition in the soil for the plant to use. Not additional nutrition provided by the product, but the product freeing up the nutrition to be more available. Tolerance to abiotic stresses. This is where using the product will help the plant tolerate salt stress, heat stress, drought stress, any of these stresses that aren't caused by disease or pathogens. Very clear, these are abiotic stresses. So heat, UV, anything like that, that can be claimed and proven. Crop quality traits, that's going to be things like flower size increased, improved storage duration, additional root mass, anything like that. And then nutrient use efficiency, phosphorus acquisition improvement would be an example of that. So it's using the nutrition that is applied more effectively. So the use and availability of biostimulants is growing. So this is an area that is increasing. And why are we seeing that? Well, there's increased regulatory pressure on traditional chemistry. There is more of it out there, more biostimulants out there, but there is increased pressure on what you can use and what we can get registered. There's an increased desire to use greener solutions. There's a lot of pressure on you growers to provide greener solutions. As a race, we want greener, safer products, and that's correct and good, and that will drive this change. There is an increase in the frequency of environmental conditions as we go further into this climate change journey that I think we're on. We're seeing higher levels of heat stress. We are seeing less cold temperatures. We're seeing more humidity. We're seeing prolonged periods of all of this. So we are needing more tools to help us in some of these tricky positions and situations. And the need to use synthetic chemicals and mineral fertilizers more efficiently and effectively. There has got to be a drive to be using the chemistry that we've got and the fertilizers we've got as efficiently as possible, and biostimulants are showing potential to really improve that. And then there is also this change in regulations, and we're going to see these changes trying to drive us towards greener solutions. So on the back of all of that, there becomes an increased availability of innovative products. As we need more products to come up with the high quality goods that we do, they will continue to be created. There is a higher drive to target those specific agronomic needs. But it's a small market at the moment, and this was an interesting slide that I pulled out of the Ag Bio Crop Market Review 2019, showing that across, and this is agriculture in general, of which ornamental controls and horticulture will get pulled into. But across all of it, the global market, herbicides represents nearly 40%. Insecticides represent 30%. Fungicides represent around 28%. And others, which is the smaller area of the market, the smallest is 3.1%. Now, inside there is biostimulants. So biostimulants are currently a tiny piece of the market, but it's growing, and it's being forecasted to grow quicker than the traditional market. So we're expecting biostimulants and biocontrols over the next decade to really start ramping up and moving forward. The traditional market will remain, and it will continue to grow, but it will grow a lot slower. This is the area of growth because there needs to be more investment into greener solutions. And there is a whole load of investment and research going on here. A quick search on Google Scholar, looking for published biostimulant articles by year, shows over the years the level of biostimulant articles and research that is being done. I feel like I'm presenting a COVID graph here, but no, it is actually published biostimulant articles. And Syngenta as a business, we are fully committed to biostimulants. There's Daniel Lightfoot, the UK business manager, looking very happy about this, saying that Syngenta is committed to developing biological tools on a global scale. We're going to meet these challenges. We are on that journey, and it's for the benefit of growers, consumers, and in the environment. And we have shown our commitment recently to biostimulants by the acquisition of Valagro, a very big biostimulant company that concentrates and has lots of background information on biologicals, and we are now working with them, which is really exciting for the future. We'll see what comes out of that. It's only recently happened, but that is a mark of Syngenta's full commitment to be involved in this biostimulant market. So let's give you a worked example of that. Horticulture is a biostimulant that we are about to bring to market. And I'm not here particularly to talk about Horticulture. I just want to show you how that fits in with the newer regulations that are on the horizon. So Horticulture is an amino acid. It fits in that area, kind of between acids, others, extracts, and that's where it sits. There we go. Now, biostimulant in this situation saves plant energy. There is a life cycle. You get plant protein, you get animal protein. As animals and plants die, they degrade into the soil, they get converted into organic nitrogen, that gets converted into nitrates and goes around on that cycle. Just like plant proteins will break down, and they will slowly break down, and they become these amino acids. Horticulture has bypassed that whole process, giving the plants the amino acids and the peptides required, but they're already formed. They don't have to go through this breakdown process, which saves biological energy. Now, what we have here is a graph showing Dalton's, and Dalton's is the size of an amino acid and a protein. It starts off as a protein, and the further it breaks down, the smaller it gets, the closer it gets to an amino acid. And what we have here is a breakdown of how HiCure is broken down. So if we start on the right there, you've got a protein. It breaks down to these smaller units, these polypeptides. There's another one of those biostimulant phrases that you will have heard. Then that breaks down again into a peptide, and then that breaks down even further to the raw ingredient of a peptide, which is an amino acid. So you're starting to see these different terms you've heard in biostimulant talk traditionally being broken down so we can understand a little bit more. But HiCure is predominantly amino acids, so right at the bottom of that protein chain. So if we look at how we can talk about HiCure and what we're going to talk, we've got these 4 things that the EU fertiliser regs are allowing us to say: nutrient use efficiency, crop quality traits, availability of confined nutrients in the soil or rhizosphere, and tolerance to abiotic stress. And we are going to be talking about the increased root mass, increased flowering, and longer shelf life that you see using HiCure. And we will also mention the abiotic stresses, the heat stress benefits that you see of using it, but predominantly we're going to be talking about these crop quality traits of HiCure. And that will be supported by data. We've got some data here about how we can improve the quality and shelf life of cut flowers. We've got increased shelf life around 1.5 days in this situation. And this is the kind of data that we will be supporting biostimulants with in order to make these claims. So to conclude this presentation, hopefully you've got some take-home messages here. Regulations on biostimulants are going to be tightening. If anyone is making any claims about protecting plants from pathogens or pests, that will fall into the plant protection regulation. So if someone is saying this biostimulant will control disease, that is a biocontrol, not a biostimulant, and should fall underneath the plant protection regulations. With different types of biostimulants on the market, there is a wide range of them and there is a wide range of claims. The upcoming regs aims to simplify this into these 4 simple: nutrient use efficiency, crop quality traits, availability of confined nutrients, and tolerance to abiotic stresses. The objective of the regulations is to simplify it. Any claims on the label will need to be supported by data. That's only any use if you, as the growers, ask for it. So ask, because if you're a reputable company selling these products, you will need to come up with the data to justify that claim. This will only work, and we will only get better products if people do ask for it. So the market should become clearer over the upcoming years. We are very much on the beginning of this journey into the area. At Syngenta, we aim to keep it science-based, clear, and simple. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed that and you've taken something out of it. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you.